Keelan, I thought I would bring in today and share with our listeners about something that I'm really passionate about, an organization, Mama's Hands and the House of Hope. Mama's Hands feeds the homeless, and the House of Hope provides a stable home for women and their children as they're going through transitional so that they can get into a house of their own. And if you're looking to giving back to the community and spending some time in the homeless community in Seattle, Mama's Hands is out on the streets in Seattle the third Wednesday of every month, or actually every Wednesday of every month. I am out the third Wednesday of every month, which was this last week. So I had I wanted to bring this in because my birthday's coming up. Last year I was the big 50, and actually before I chat, you did turn 40 years old. Happy birthday, Keelan.
No, Tina, 37 every year counts. We're going to wind that back. I got a few.
Just a few years.
Just a few years, because that's going to go by really quick.
Yeah. Anyway, so my birthday was April 26th. I turned 50 last year, and I'm going to be 51 this year. A year goes by really, really quickly, but I'm going to be spending my birthday this year at the gala for the House of Hope. So I just wanted to give a shout out for that. And I had an opportunity to meet with Leslie Hancock 5 years ago, and she is the wife of Denny Hancock, which are the founders of Mama's Hands and the House of Hope, and they opened the organization in December of 1990, and I've had them in studio a couple times over the holidays to share what they're doing, but I'd asked Leslie a question, then this question would change my life forever. I asked her what was important to her outside of her successful real estate business that she was running, and she started to share the story about Mama's Hands and the House of Hope and the why behind it and how they started this amazing organization. And I was so inspired that actually Victoria here now takes our behind the scenes shot. She'll remember this. I actually picked up the phone on my way back to the office in tears. She inspired me so much behind the story and then what they were doing. And so I really wanted to do something to contribute. And I asked Leslie, what could I do, to be a contribution to the organization? And she said, well, with the success that you've had in your mortgage business, I think you might be able to share some tools and techniques with the women. So, of course, I said, yes, I would do this. Now, I was preparing for my visit with the women, and I thought to myself, showing up in my Jaguar to the home that they were living in, which was a beautiful home, by the way, but it's transitional, and they want to get out of these homes and, have a house of their own. And I thought going in and sharing my personal core practices of the importance of having a dream and being alert and embracing failures, that if I didn't open up and tell my own personal story and be vulnerable with these women, how was I going to be able to connect with them? And it was a really scary thought for me because I had never publicly shared my story before, and definitely not with any of my real estate partners. I've been in the industry for over 15 years by now. And to make it even more scary for me, Leslie, which is an industry leader in the real estate space, and Keelan, majority of our business comes from real estate professionals, and she was a real influencer in our market. Well, she was going to be there that night. Oh. So that made it even, more scary for her to actually know what my story was. But I made the commitment to myself that I wasn't there for myself. I was there to make a difference in these women's life. And I had no idea how they were really going to make a difference in my life. So first time I shared my story of tragedy to triumph. I talked about how my little sister and me played our violin at Pike Place Market to help our parents keep a roof over our head. I talked about my dad being an alcoholic and how he tried taking his life when I was 12 years old. I talked about my own challenges with drugs. I talked about how my first husband was in prison and the death of our daughter, Amber. And I shared that through my own tragedies, I was able to triumph. And I believe that life throws us tragedies so we can share our story of triumph on the other side, but you must fight through your tragedies to make it to the other side. And I believe that when tragedy hits, your warrior is right there beside you. But the real tragedy is not letting your warrior out and fighting for your life so you could realize the person that you want to be or that you're meant to be. I spent 3 hours with these women, and by opening up with my story, it allowed them and created the space for them to share their story. And so I listened to them. They shared with each other. I talked about the community and how that community was really bringing them together, how they could support each other. There was lots of laughter and lots of tears. And less than a year after I left these women, the first time that I spent with them, obviously I've been part of the organization now ever since. That goes without saying. But a lot of my time is in the homeless community because of this opportunity. I wrote my book 10 months later. Which is my book, Journey with Me, which is based on my personal professional core practices and, of course, my story. I wrote my song, Dream. And now, as you know, Keelan, I'm a keynote speaker, and I get invited to share, and sometimes in front of hundreds of people, my story. So the reason I wanted to share that with you is because when you go from a place of contribution and go to help other people, you have no idea what will actually come back to you. And so I want to give a little shout out to Mama's Hands and the House of Hope and the many, many, many years that they have put into this organization and the difference that they're making, not only in these women's life and the men that are out on the street, but into the people that donate their time because, you never really look back after an experience like that. So if you do want to join me on Friday, April 26th, your host, Tina Mitchell, I'll be there. I've got a table, of course. You can reach into the show and I'll get you connected so you can join the gala because it's going to be a great event.
Yeah, and for listeners out there, I mean, I met Tina, and I read your book on the plane. Remember, we went to Dallas for a company event, and I read the book, and you're the real deal. You really are. It's an inspiration to anybody and such an amazing person, and there's nobody I've ever been around that brings me up like you do. You're just a positive light all the time. No matter what's happening in your life, everything is always positive, and you always bring this wonderful spirit. So,
thanks,
knowing that when I first met you and to read the book and kind of where you came from and your background, I mean, obviously all that made you who you are today, and it's an incredible journey. So, kudos to you and your journey and what you're doing. And you are a woman of action. You're out there actually doing it and giving back. So, Tina, you're amazing.
Well, thanks, Keelan. Thank you so much. Anything else that you want to share today? What are you going? You're going to go skydiving.
I am going to go skydiving on Saturday, but no, let's leave it at that. And because at the end of the day, I think there's nothing more important than what you do and your causes. And that's skydiving's cool, but this is
all right. Well, we'll talk about skydiving.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Keelan. Well, that's our money chat for you. Coming up next in Money Hour, strategic advantages and pitfalls of patents. Ignorance is not bliss. Brooke Quist of CIP Law Group, right here at 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.